Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Business Advisory Services update. And we're going to talk to you today about a very important aspect of the business advisory services activities that accountants can be conducting, and that is, how do you communicate with your clients and your prospects? Today, I'm joined by an expert in communication, Brad Smart. How are you, Brad?
I'm well, thank you, Peter. It's good to be here.
Brad, you've been around for a long time. Your company's PineCam Proprietary Limited, and you're trading as selling the message. What do you mean by selling the message, particularly as it relates to a profession like accountants?
Well, I think selling the message is extremely important for small and medium-sized businesses and accountants these days, particularly in these troubled times that we've just been through as we try to re-establish our businesses.
Yes, there's a lot of activity and all that going on, isn't there? And we need to be aware of it. So where does an accountant start with trying to improve their communication? What aspect of their business do you think you should be talking to them about?
Well, I think as accountants move from tax compliance work to being the trusted advisor that ESS BIZTOOLS has been telling them about for quite some time, they need to look at services that can work A, for them internally, and B, externally. Internally, they can promote themselves with the specialist knowledge that they have. For example, one of the things that a number of companies are now getting into, particularly the larger ones, but it's starting to filter down into SME type operations, and that is academies. Academies are basically established on a company's website to give training to their customers, to their clients. And what happens is these academies are made up of both printed material, material that you would print out, and also with video material.
Right.
And what the videos contain is basically an issue that may be affecting their clients at that particular time, and then a solution to it without overemphasizing the branding. So you don't just keep thumping away about your company being good at this. You provide the solution for them, and then at the end you say, well, you obviously say that our company also has those services or products to solve that issue. This is becoming very important because people like to have what appears to be editorial comment given to them rather than sales material just fed to them. And the use of academies also allows sales funnels to be built into it, so that as the client shows that they have a need for this sort of product, then you drive them down a sales funnel to promote for the accountants or for the SME the value of those services, and that tends to work very well. On the external side, accountants could also be offering the services that we've devised here as selling the message, which is it's a virtual corporate communications platform that provides three functions. And those functions are copywriting, production, and training. In the copywriting area, we offer for most companies to help reinforce their social media, to build it back up again after the COVID situation, and to keep it serviced on a daily basis. We also will issue media releases. We cover media releases because, being formerly a media owner in radio stations, I appreciate the value that that traditional media still has in the promotion of companies, particularly on a regional basis. Companies out in the regional areas can get a lot of publicity on their local media. Email chains and sales funnels, we can design those and write those for them. and also blogs and articles. Now, blogs are very important for companies, particularly accountants and small and medium-sized businesses that want to shine in their particular discipline. The writing and posting of blogs, and that's mainly in B2B operations, is best done probably on a LinkedIn platform, although you can still get some value in B2B on Facebook and Instagram, but mainly those latter two are used for B2C communication. But the blogs help them become a recognized leader in their particular discipline. So writing these 1,500, 2,000 word blogs shows the depth of your knowledge in the particular subject. And it works very, very well. And then we can do reports, newsletters, and other promotional material as part of our copywriting functions. On the production side, we move into videos. Now, when I started out, we were sending our videos on pneumatic tapes, and then it was VHS tapes. But of course, now delivery is so much better and so much more efficient because you do it on YouTube, or you can send them out, or you can download them, put them onto a tablet for your salespeople, or if it's an accountancy firm, they can just take them out and show them to their clients on a tablet. So I've got 1,500 videos behind me for corporate clients like Telstra, IBM, Microsoft, Ericsson, Multiplex. I even worked for the government of Saudi Arabia and Hong Kong and Singapore at one stage. So we've done quite a bit of work, and for state and federal governments. So we know what we're doing with video as well. And there's graphic design and websites. So if that's needed for accountancy practices, either internally or for their clients, if the clients say, well, where can I get a website done? Where can I get graphic design materials done? This is an add-on service that the trusted advisor can then pass on to the clients. And then there's training.
Okay, but Bray, can we just go back a little bit to the academy concept? I'm very interested in that because I must admit I hadn't previously heard about that. Are any accountancy firms doing this that you know of?
I don't know of medium-sized accountancy firms doing it, but I'm sure that some of the biggies, the big four, would be.
Okay.
The good thing about an academy, Peter, is you don't have to start off with 50 videos and supporting material.
Yeah,
you can start off with one small video and then some some written material that then you can just leave that up for a while, and then as you start to get reaction to it, you can devise it into a sales funnel with a number of other little videos. So you keep driving people down the sales funnel, but you can also scale the whole thing up as it becomes necessary and as the demand is there. One of the things that accountants could probably do, which is fairly obvious, would be to do short videos on capital gains tax, personal income tax, what you do about fringe benefits tax, that would help their clients out of to understand the issue without having to sit there and explain it individually to them each time.
Oh yeah, I can see tremendous opportunities in this. That's why I thought we should go back to it, just to emphasize some of these points. What would the accountant call it? Well, Smith and Jones, with Smith and Jones's Academy, or
well, you don't necessarily have to brand it as an academy. You can just have it on your website and progressively add more and more videos.
Yeah.
The idea, the academy idea, is really about training.
Yep.
You're training your customers, you're training your clients. Here's a problem you might have in capital gains. Here are the solutions to it, and this is what we can provide. It's a three-way thing.
And I suppose a lot of us could use that sort of concept. So it's a good idea for everyone listening today, that you could utilize some of the material if you're subscribers to ESS BizTools. Of course, we have questions and solutions right through our material, and I'll have a think about that as to whether we should incorporate some of that into our material for our subscribers to then reproduce. That could be a good idea, I think. And the sales funnels as a development of that is basically, if you're interested in what further information, click here. Is that generally what you're saying there?
What happens with sales funnels, if somebody indicates an interest by either subscribing or leaving their email address, then they get a return email a couple of days later saying that there's a new video for them to see, or that there's new information, new print information up there on the website for them to see that might be of interest to them. And you just, and then you have another one. And so you have path after path that drives them down towards giving them not only reassurance and giving the company credibility, but it also helps drive those people towards those gates of sales. So you're driving them closer and closer to a sale each time by refining the material for them.
Brad, is a man with a lot of experience in communications. How would you rate Australian accountancy industry's communication skills on a scale of 1 to 10? Where are we at present, do you think?
Well, I've worked with, personally, they've handled my accounts with one of the big four. And I've also worked with smaller accountants. You call them medium size, I guess, partnerships. And none of them really communicate. They may get some ideas from overseas and start to start to get out there and market them back to their client base. But what you really need to have is a developed email list that you can use for marketing, and then provide the product that's going to appeal to the viewer or to the reader, and get them to take some action. Call to action is the only way to get people to respond in a quick and efficient way. If there are two types of advertising, two types of marketing, Peter. One is awareness, which basically says, hey, we're ESS BizTools. We're here if you need us, but we're a solid company. Or there's a call to action, buy our product now. Now, they're used in all forms of media, traditional media, radio, television. You see it all the time. You see those heavy sell ads in television. They're trying to drive people to pick up the phone and dial a 1-800 number immediately. Or there's other ads like insurance company ads that basically say, we're good people, we're here to help you if you ever get into trouble, just to make sure you pay your premium on time. But that's the same sort of thing that accountants should be looking at, becoming more active in developing an email list, because marketing is now done digitally. And that email list can be developed through their website by asking people to subscribe. And to get people to subscribe, you really have to have product on the website that's going to interest people and make them want to subscribe. So that probably comes down to doing small videos, making sure that they're giving valuable information out to their clients and to their client base and potential client base, so that people will sign up on their email lists, and then they've got the ability to go out and direct market to them on a regular basis. Don't want to overdo it, of course.
Yeah, and currently we've got a number of issues. So an accountancy firm would pick an issue and start a commentary. But just going back to the list, all accountants, of course, have got lists of their clients. Most of them are using CRMs, customer relationship management systems.
Yes.
I don't know whether all accountants got lists of prospects, but I know some of them do, especially the ones who are proactive in the market. So it's a matter of building up their targets, who they're interested in supplying services to, and they can use these communications to establish themselves or differentiate themselves, can't they? Because otherwise the marketplace just looks at all accountants the same. So who's an expert in a particular area? And by putting out the communications, they can market that. Is that right?
Well, that's true. It's exactly right. As I said earlier, blogging is a really good way on a particular subject. They have to pick their subjects. Accountants might pick, as we were talking about, fringe benefits tax, or developing your business, or whatever it happens to be. Depends which area they want to offer and drive their services. And then they, with an email list, they can market their blogs to them that way. Otherwise, the blogs go out onto LinkedIn, and they start to build their credibility that way as an established brand and an established authority in their area. You've got to remember, Peter, that communications drives marketing, and marketing drives sales.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, I don't know if it's the right words to say to be fair to accountants, but most professionals have really never had to worry about marketing their services to the extent that we're now talking about in the past, have they? But the world's changing.
Yeah, that's right. In the past, you thought of accountants as the place you go once a year to get your tax done. But now we've seen a shift in that to accountants moving into the area of being trusted advisors. And that requires a lot of marketing around that to make sure that A, you're a credible trusted advisor, and B, that the services that you're offering get in front of the right people.
Yeah. And that's very important, isn't it? Let's go back to part of your experience of being a proprietor of radio stations.
Yep.
For accountants who are trying to get a story into the marketplace, what's the secret of writing a news release that the media will use?
Well, you've got to catch their attention within the first 5 seconds. I was Chief of Staff and Deputy News Director of 10 in Melbourne, and then I was later Chief of Staff and a producer over at 9 in Melbourne. And when you're the Chief of Staff, you're the guy filtering all the information coming into the newsroom, whether we look at covering it or not. And the first thing you do is you'll have 150 press releases or media releases a day. And you look at the headline, the headline's got to jump out at you.
Right.
Then the first paragraph has got to jump out at you if you've been encouraged after reading the headline to keep reading. The Chief of Staff, who decides whether or not the media organisation will follow through on that for the day's news, they'll basically they'll finish after the first part. They'll decide, oh, that's a good story, and give that off to a reporter to handle. So, but most of those 150 will get spiked. You'll probably only take 10 of the 150. So to write something that's going to resonate really means that you have to grab their attention right from the start. The style has to be right. Now, you can get your executives to write that, your other accountants and people in the firm. That's fine. But it's probably better if you get somebody who understands the needs of the media. It'd be a bit like me trying to write to the ATO.
Okay, so if an accountant, and hopefully a lot of accountants are either watching us now or going to watch this as a video over the next week or so, if they wanted to use your services, they want to put out a commentary because they've noticed that many of their clients have got debtors days outstanding over 90 days, and debt collection's a big issue. The Small Business Commissioner is telling us this all the time. Something needs to be done about it. They have developed their own theories on it, or they might be repeating some material that's within ESS BIZTOOLS. And if they're subscribers, that's okay. What's their process if they want to deal with you? Do they draft something out first and then send it to you and you do the final edit? and get it ready for
Well,
them?
yeah, the whole thing of the virtual corporate communication service basically came as a ripoff of the virtual CFO services,
Right.
which I'm sure many accountants are involved in, and that was a need and a satisfying a service that satisfied the need because small, medium-sized businesses, and that I guess is the majority of the clients, they only need certain services. And those services are all they need, and that's all they need to pay for. When I saw that concept, I thought this is an ideal concept for corporate communications. Corporate communication is an essential service, but is often out of the reach of an accountancy practice or even SME clients. But with a virtual corporate communication service, people only have to pay for what they use. So when I listed out before what we did, and I didn't mention training, but I'll get back to that in a tick. They only have to pay for those services they commission. And in fact, if they're not happy with the end result and they don't use it in whole or in part, they don't pay for it. So the risk
Okay.
is taken away. Now, if 18 months ago, 2 years ago, we'd said, oh, we're going to do a Zoom conference, I'll do all my briefing with you by Zoom, you'd have said, hey, you're crazy. That's only an experimental thing. It's been around for many years, but it's really only experimental. But Zoom has been given credibility by COVID, and has driven many people home, and they've had to, the kids have had to learn on Zoom, or people have had to communicate on Zoom. And the other platforms like Microsoft Teams and even Skype. But that's now got credibility within the business community, and people are willing to brief contractors over Zoom, and they're willing to have their sole communications over it. I've been dealing with you now for 2 or 3 years. We've never met face to face.
No, no.
And
That's
so it's a credible way of doing it. So that's the way we would be working with clients. So we can work with clients anywhere in Australia. And if they want to get in touch, of course, they can go through you on your website. Or if they wanted to contact me direct, my mobile number is 0418 311 011, or my email is bsmart, just BSMART, at smartradiogroup.com.au.
just say that mobile again, please, Brad.
That's 0418 311 011.
0418 311 011.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great service. Let's talk about training now. How can hopefully we got accountants out there who are aspiring to have more market share. They've got expertise in particular areas. They're waiting for our announcement in the next couple of weeks on research and development products that we've developed, we're about to release, and they want to distinguish themselves in the marketplace, that they are an expert in research and development services for SME clients. How can you train them to do that?
Well, it was really interesting. You and I were talking to some other people a couple of days ago, and the one thing that really stood out was their interest in presentation skills and public speaking,
Yes.
which I've been doing for over 35 years now with various companies like Pacific Brands. I trained all their senior executives with Telstra, IBM, and also with a number of senior public servants in Canberra. And what I do is I go in and train them one-on-one in how to speak with passion and enthusiasm to audiences of any size. That can be a one-on-one presentation, doing a presentation to a client, which could mean $1 million for the business. Whereas I also train them to speak to an auditorium full of people. So either way, that's just to get their skills up. I also do the same for them in media. if they think they're going to have quite a bit of media exposure, I'll train them how to handle themselves in media. But then I can also come in and train them for specific specific occasions, specific presentations that they might have to give, and they just don't know how they'll quite emphasize various points. I can come in and do that. And now we can do that virtually, or I can do it face to face. And I also wrote the book on it.
Right,
So
right.
I'll do that as a, oops, where is it? There it is. Anyway, if somebody would like a copy of the book.
That didn't quite focus, Brad. So the name of the book
is Selling the Message.
Selling the Message. Okay.
That's it.
And where can people get that?
Oh, they can get it on Amazon if they'd like.
On Amazon. Okay. Selling the Message by Brad Smart.
But if somebody would like a copy and is serious about getting their presentation up to scratch, if they'd give me a call, I can get one to them.
Oh, okay. That's a great offer. Okay. So an accountant decides they want to improve their communication skills. They've heard about all this. They're toying with the idea of using Zoom. They contact you, and then you can organise it after you've had a preliminary discussion with them.
I'm happy to sit down and discuss whatever needs the accountancy practice has, or any SMEs, whatever they may have as an issue with their communications at the moment, and we can provide the services for them.
And would you talk to them also about presenting webinars?
I can do that too.
Because I'm really urging accountants to be far more proactive in webinars, and obviously with what's going on at present, with borders being shut, etc., around the country, a lot of those webinars would be presented by Zoom, of course. Some of them will be running seminars where clients can attend, but it's a whole new ball game for a lot of people.
Well, they're not all extroverts like you, Peter. So, no, seriously, it is a confidence issue, getting up and presenting a webinar.
Yeah, I know that.
And what needs to happen is they need to look at, I would need to sit down with them and work out where they have an issue with their confidence in presenting a webinar. And I think a lot of it is probably not knowing the structures of webinars and how to actually present within that structure. The nervousness, the anxiety comes out because they're unsure of what they're expected to do.
Yeah, so I think most people can talk confidently to one-on-one or one-on 3 or 4 people. They just got to pretend that's all they got there if they're worried about a larger audience. And obviously in webinars, you don't really know how many's out there. So don't look at the indicator telling you how many you got there. Just talk and talk, and hopefully get the message across.
That's what it is. It's all about selling the message.
Okay, you mentioned in your material reports, newsletters, and brochures. Is there any particular activity that you get involved in there with accountants, or could?
With accountants, well, if they need reports written, I can research and write reports. Newsletters, obviously, just be written from the material provided by them. I would think for most medium-sized accountancy practices, they wouldn't be looking for internal newsletters. They'd be looking for an external one to go to their email base. And for other promotional materials, that could be brochures, etc. I've got good people who can do graphic design, and I have one of the top Sydney graphic designers who's now just sold his practice and is anxious to do more work. So I'd basically work as an aggregator on that, just bring in the right people so that the client's getting the best value they possibly can.
Okay, someone asked us, I'm just looking at the questions, does the Zooming have video recording? Yes, we are recording this webinar, and we will be sending a link to the recording to the people who have attended or registered. So hopefully that answers that question. Thanks. And if any other people have got questions, can you please type them in into your computer now, and I will put those questions to Brad now in this webinar and give you the answers. If you're watching this as a recording later on, and I know a lot of you do, someone keeps on telling me he watches them at 3 a.m. I hope it doesn't mean that you're watching this so we'll put you back to sleep. Maybe you are getting up at 3 a.m. But if you do have questions when you're watching later on, please send an email through to me, peter@essbiztools.com.au, and I will pass the questions on to Brad to get his answers, because we're very keen for you to think of the questions, of course, and then make sure you get the answers.
Peter,
So thank you very much, Brad, for that.
Oh, Peter, if people want specific answers, I'm quite happy to call them back.
Okay, so that's a great offer. Where we are, and I think hopefully a lot of accountants are going to want to improve their communication skills and hopefully use Brad's services over the next couple of months, because we're still in a very interesting stage with clients and businesses. There's a lot of people still in difficulties. I noticed that the small business ombudsman, Kate Carnell, has made a submission to the government to introduce a university style funding program for students to apply to businesses. The concept of the government making loans available to some businesses, and primarily I understand the intention is these would be businesses still on JobKeeper, who will then be able to get a loan, and they start repaying when that business has reached a pre-agreed turnover level. That's going to need some explanation to tell your clients about that, communication, telling them how it works, and making sure all the information can be assembled. So that's a task that you might be able to help some of these firms communicate to their clients, Brad.
Well, I certainly hope so, Peter.
Okay, so next week we have Andrew Geddes, the former chair of Green Cross Limited, and also Andrew was one of the founders of FMRC at the University of New England many years ago. Andrew is going to join me for a discussion on research and development as part of the launch of the ESS BizTools updated research and development product. We've gone back to square one. We've looked at the idea and said, what's got to happen then to be able to successfully develop a research and development project? Part of that, of course, is making sure you get funding from the government under the research and development incentive rebate. Another part is to make sure that you have protected your intellectual property that you are developing along the way, and perhaps getting advice from a patent attorney as to whether you should patent that invention. And hopefully you're going to turn it into a commercial product. And I'm sure along each of those steps, there's going to be some communication angles that some of these companies will be able to look at, Brad. And that might be another area of service, because I'm sure that out there around Australia, but particularly in the states that have had prolonged lockdowns because of COVID-19, there will be many people who have been tinkering, as someone said to me the other day, in their backyard shed or on their farm or on their computer. And they may have come up with a concept for a new product or service, and that could make them eligible for research and development. But those people, if any of them are watching this video, you do need accounting advice, because you need to be operating as a company to be able to claim the research and development rebates from the government. Unfortunately, there is no additional taxation benefit for research and development if you're undertaking it as a sole trader, a partnership, or a trust. You need to be a incorporated company. So thank you very much for being with us today, Brad. I'll just make one further check.
My pleasure, Peter.
To see whether we've got any any further questions? We haven't got any further questions. Don't forget to send them through to me, peter@essbiztools.com.au. If you want to talk to Brad after this video, please give him a ring, 0418 311 011. Brad, have a great day, and thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Peter. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.